Welcome to Cinema Gulp, everybody. I'm Ben.
I'm Scotty R37.
I'm Karate Action Ben.
And I'm John. And this is our favorite R-rated action film.
Motherfucking titty sucking two ball bitch.
Well, we've talked about this before, Ben. Con Air. Fucking Con Air. Nice. I am disappointed in all of you that none of you have put it on the list yet.
It was close.
But I have to say it is. No, I know. I'm not actually angry.
Now,
is
that a Die Hard situation? Sorry.
Well, when anyone is trapped, doesn't automatically make it
That's
a
what I'm
Die Hard
saying.
situation. But if you'd like to learn more, head over. We did a weekly gulp on it, didn't we? Or did we do a full on?
We did a fucking commentary, the entire movie. For its 20th anniversary date.
But yeah, so if you'd like to totally go into depth as to how I feel about it and how Ben feels, how all of us feel about it, yeah, I would go check out that video. But no, I love it. I think it's great. I think it's fun. I think there are stakes. I think it is a star-studded cast, yes. A cavalcade of the late 90s. Our boy Nicky Seed and Nicolas Cage is always a welcome presence. The music, there's nothing about that movie I don't like. If I had it on, it's almost up there with Shawshank. It's just if it's on, it's a remote, it's a remote drop. It's just and I was arguing with myself about whether or not I was going to put on Face Off or something. And it's no, it's rated R. It's one of your favorite action movies. Just put it in there. And I appreciate, John, you saying, did it earn its R rating? It's kind of a bubblegum R-rated action movie.
Really?
But that's also why I like it.
The Steve Buscemi scene alone, with the kid.
He doesn't do anything. It just gets weird and trippy.
Okay.
What about Dave Chappelle being dropped out of an airplane?
That was fine.
That's great. Yeah.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Dude, they're just murdering everybody in that motorcade. They're just fucking killing everybody.
Well, guys, I hate to be the one that has to point out, the rape guy.
Johnny 23?
You don't really do that in PG-13 movies.
That's right. Johnny 23.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that Danny Trejo playing that?
Yes, it is.
Good point, man. You can't have that character even acknowledged.
Yeah.
If you'd like to learn more, head over to the Cinema Gulp channel where you are currently and check out the video where we talk about Con Air and all of its awesomeness.
Was Don Simpson still alive for that one?
No,
he had passed already.
About a year and a half before that. Yeah, yeah. He died during the Rock filming.
During the filming?
I think so. Yeah.
Blown to sea, vaporized.
Blown, I think, is part of it. I think some blow, possibly.
Oh, that's too
funny.
That's
staying in. That's
just for the groan.
Poor Don. I know Don Simpson wasn't a model human being, but boy, was he a great action producer.
Yep.
My number 2 was a difficult decision because it was almost my number 1. But my number 2 and 1 were very easy choices. I think Dredd takes the idea of an action film and art over its fucking head. It's a piece of fucking art that's just adrenaline and rawness and roughness. And I actually saw this movie. I saw this movie in theaters twice. Great action scenes. And The Raid was my number 5 pick, and Dredd's my number 2 because it's The Raid polished. It's The Raid smoothed out with bigger stunts and explosions, and I love it for all those reasons. And Carl Urban is amazing. And this film, along with The Boys now, but this film specifically shows why this guy should be an action leading man, starring in things.
New Zealand national treasure for sure.
My second favorite, Dr. McCoy.
What I love about Carl Urban is he had no vanity in this movie. He did not need to have his. That's the thing about the Marvel movies is everybody wants their face thing to come off so that they can be on screen. He is fucking Dredd with the helmet on the whole movie. He never takes it off.
No, you're right. He never does. And that's how I've not read a lot of Dredd comic books, but that's how the comic book is. And I know the fans of the comic really wanted that. And while that wasn't important to me, I think it does strengthen the character. Like the idea of this character alive, that he is the law. Like this guy's entire drive is his perception of justice. And that's a theme in a lot of action films, but there aren't nearly as many characters like Dredd that will take it to such an extreme while still being the good guy, not really crossing that line. You know, still, I mean, his justice is very extreme, but he, you know, never goes outside the lines. In fact, actually, one of my favorite aspects of the film, and a few scenes later in the film, are when dirty cops come into the building.
Yeah,
and that's really great because
the best scene. Yeah,
I like this because it's judge versus judge, and in some weird ways, it's almost like Predator versus Predator. I mean, I love Dredd's gun because it's designed. If you pick it up and use it, it doesn't read his DNA. It makes your fucking hand explode. It's awesome. They're so advanced. They're like, I mean, like Dredd's almost like RoboCop. They're just advanced hunter killers. And it's awesome watching a bunch of different judges take each other out towards the end of the film.
That's a great pick, Ben. I fucking love that movie, man. It's so entertaining from start to finish. And that slow-mo stuff, it's really disturbing. Like what's her name? Mama?
Mama.
Yeah.
It is so disturbing the way she will like put someone on that and then throw them. Oh, because I guess the whole thing is it makes you feel like you're doing that for like a certain amount of years or something. Like she put those guys in fear for years. Like,
Judgment time.
Let's finish this.
I'm the law.
This is the culmination of my first three picks.
Yep.
First Blood, starring Stallone. Die Hard 2, directed by Rennie Harlin. And Ricochet, with the villain played by John Lithgow. We have Cliffhanger, 1993. Thank you, Ben, for
I'm
calling
so
it a perfect, an almost perfect film. This movie starts out so intense. That opening scene where he's trying to save that woman's life on the rope.
And he doesn't. Spoilers.
Still, every time I watch it, it's just as intense. It's
anxiety. It's anxiety.
You hope that he can save her every single time, and
He doesn't.
it never works out. But yeah, I think this is Rennie Harlin's best directed film. But I love Cliffhanger also for being a Die Hard ripoff, but one that does it really well and doesn't feel, you don't necessarily immediately think of it as a Die Hard ripoff because, you know, set in a mountain, it's not this enclosed space, but it still has kind of the elements of the Die Hard tropes. And I think out of all those ones that came after Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 2, when they really just started pumping them out, this is really one of the best ones. I think the effects in this movie still hold up. There's definitely some shots that don't, but there's a lot that really does work in this movie, and it's just always a fun watch. John Lithgow is another great villain in this movie. I think he's better in Ricochet, definitely more menacing, but he still brings it in this one and is great. Michael Rooker is a great character in this one, a lot of fun. Stallone's just excellent, his typical action hero elements that he brings, but he's really great in this one. It's got a good story, a good backstory to get us into, you know, why these people are where they're at. The heist element going wrong just sets up this wonderful little Die Hard on a mountain movie, and I love it every time I watch it. Love the intensity all throughout. It does have some pretty good violence. You know, a number of people are dispatched in pretty bloody ways, showing you something that we know is not real, but making it feel believable, like a helicopter hanging off the edge of a cliff and two guys fighting on it to the end. Like, some of that stuff is just very over the top, but it's the way it's shot and the practical effects that are used that for the sake of the movie, you're able to buy into it. And I think Cliffhanger does a great job. Well, you've already done enough Die Hard ripoff for your genre.
I never even thought. I hardly think of this one that way. I guess like Die Hard and the Rockies. I guess. It's weird to put it where I have to put it because it's a noir action movie. It's not necessarily full of action, but the action scenes are amazing. And it happens to be my favorite movie of all time. Strange Days, directed by Catherine Bigelow. the action scenes that are in it are fucking breathtaking, and probably the first, well, nowadays you have this very simple device called a GoPro that you could put on your chest, but back then Catherine Bigelow and her crew actually had to create a gigantic camera rig to do the first 5-minute opening scene of that movie. And if you guys have seen Strange Days, it's one of the most breathtaking 5 minutes of cinema, because it's just a perspective of someone who you never see, who's a despicable human being, who says very racist things, but you're kind of wanting to get away from the cops, all because of her direction in that movie. I hate to gender things, but my favorite female character of all time is Mace from this movie, played by Angela Bassett, who may be my biggest crush in the world, you know, even today, like looking pretty much the same as she did in this movie. You remember that time in the 90s, you had like your 93 to 97 where it was like, yeah, The Crow is a big example of this, where you had like kind of like these darkly lit nightclubs that you don't know if they really exist. It feels like a fantasy nightclub. The villains and their minions and like they're after you, and there's the girl with the bleached white hair and she's got the dueling guns, and you know, Lenny Nero, played by the great Ray Fiennes, like was the opposite of an action star. He was kind of like somebody that might have, the thing I love about his characters, he might have been an action guy, but we never see it. We only hear about it. You know, like, and that's the coolest thing about how his character's written, is he was somebody heroic, but now he's just kind of this sleaze. Yeah, not sleaze. He still has a code of ethics. And all the action stuff comes from this just jacked the fuck up Angela Bassett as Mace. And this was just a beautifully written, like, female character that longed for her best friend, Lenny. She wanted to be with him. She was in love with him. So her vulnerabilities are right there. So all the action in the movie stems from her trying to like save him and protect him, because he's not, Ray Fiennes doesn't play him as a drunk. You never see him drinking or doing drugs, but he's a manic personality type where he's constantly like moving his eyeball. Yeah, John, you know what I'm talking about. Like he's like a swindler. He's constant. He doesn't know how to sit still. So therefore he can't really like figure out a correct thought for what's happening with this like murder mystery. And it's another one on our list that is actually set in the future. It's set in 1999, but it's made in 1995.
Let's point out some of the similarities of the film you're talking about that's set in the future, but it's also still kind of in the 90s. And the strong female character. Why does this female character exist in this movie? Who was the writer of this movie?
James Cameron.
That's why you have a three-dimensional, well-rounded female character who is strong and action-oriented, but not like a Mila Jovovich just to be there.
No. The action's great, but it's secondary to how great the story is of this movie and how great the characters are. But the ending of this movie with the great Tom Sizemore, oh my God, legendary Michael Wincott. Again, another kind of like Crow thing where it's like he's again in this like dark, smoky nightclub. I think the thing I love about the action in this movie is it's so colorful, and the way Catherine Bigelow like takes the camera and rotates everything. You know, some people these days, they love to cut action so that you can't see if somebody lands a kick or a punch. The mystery's great. The story is great. The way it unfolds, it's devastating and gross. And this movie got a lot of controversy for its like treatment of women, but thank God it was directed by a woman, so they kind of got away from some of that.
But there's a number of intense scenes, especially involving women, that help this movie earn its R rating. So it fits right in with what we're talking about.
Very R rated.
And it's very R-rated.
Yeah, there's scenes in this movie that are beyond R-rated. Yeah. So
well, and also if you're a fan of cyberpunk, it is one of the definitive cyberpunk films.
I saw that movie. I saw the beginning of that movie in elementary school, and I didn't try watching it again until high school. Man, it's quite the start to a film.